I hate this delay.
Yeah.
Does someone have a soundboard?
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the zoo. The minions with me this evening are Inquisitor.
Hello. Chirp,
Adam.
chirp.
Hello.
Cryptic.
I like potatoes.
And of course, as once again, it is a Friday. I am the keeper for this evening, Sanguine. How are all of you doing tonight?
I'm doing all right.
I like potatoes.
Had a shit week, but I'm planning on having a lot of smoked meat this weekend. So yeah.
Ooh.
Of course. I mean, it's 4th of July,
That's
so
a good
of course
way
you
to
gotta-
round out everything.
Mm-hmm.
So, before stream, we were having a little bit of a talk, just making sure that people had heard the good news about the court decision on affirmative action, because that will be something that we'll be talking about tonight. But then we ended up going into a conversation about the Civil War and the Reconstruction period right after the Civil War. So do you guys want to start off with that, or shall we go to something else? Oh, and where are my manners? Before that, I did ask how you guys are all doing today. I did do the introductions proper, so is there anything I'm missing? I don't think there is. So yeah, let's go into one of the conversations if you guys are game.
So I would like to actually talk about Supreme Court stuff because that interests me more because they were discriminating against Asians mostly.
Yep. They were discriminating the most against Asian men.
Mm-hmm.
Second most white men, third most Asian women. Then I think it was Hispanic men, then white women, then black men, then Hispanic women, then black women. Black women were the largest beneficiary of the system.
Yeah. From my understanding, this came from Harvard, the Ivy League schools, right? Basically,
Yep.
all the Ivy League schools. They set out ridiculous criteria, like Asians have to score how many over points above.
So if I remember the
Hispanic.
scoring right,
Yeah.
Asians had to score 250 points above the average.
Right.
Blacks had to score 200 to 250 points below the average. Whites had to score 200 points above. Or, I think it was white men had to score 200 points above. White women were considered the average. And then it was Hispanic men were like 100 points below. Hispanic women, 150. And then, like I said, blacks were 200 to 250 below the average.
Right. So let's talk about the average stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Statistically, my Asian people, is below average.
For schooling?
Yeah.
Exact opposite, my guy.
No.
In terms of
Specific flavor.
My
not
specific
Asians
flavor
in general.
of Asian, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So they were lumping like Japanese, Chinese,
Korean,
And Vietnamese, Korean.
Chinese.
yeah. So but other Asians, like let's say you were a Cambodian, let's say you were Laotian, they're a bit, they don't have the educational background as other Asians, right?
Yep.
Sure.
Let's say you were a Laotian kid, came here or was born here in America and gone through the whole system, right? And
Let's make it even worse, because a lot of the fresh immigrants will end up in major cities.
mhm,
So you were a Laotian that came to America, and you grew up in the same inner city neighborhoods that are predominated by black people,
right.
Yep.
just to fully set the image of how ridiculous this is.
Yep.
And then
But-
continue.
But just because let's say the Laotian kid, right, is categorized as an Asian, even though he's his people's natural. I'm not saying they are, but I'm saying that's an example, right?
Mm-hmm.
They are below the actual national average, even below the national average of a Latino.
Mm-hmm.
They will be discriminated against and will be rejected because they are in the Asian category.
Mm-hmm.
And that is just fucking racism beyond any other words. It's just.
Yep. See, if there's one solution to this issue that I would have been entirely in favor of when it came to the idea of affirmative action, and it wouldn't have been any real form of affirmative action. Because what I would have been in favor of is if major universities decided that they would have a post-high school preparatory academy sort of setup, and that they had preferred acceptance to their preparatory for people that were in specific geographic areas. So the preparatory academy wouldn't be necessary to get into the university, wouldn't be necessary to get into the college. It would be if you didn't meet the criteria of the college, of the university, you could go to the preparatory academy, they would get you up to speed, and then you could apply to the college, university, or a different college and university. That I think fine with, because that would have allowed for the deep south out in the hollers have lower educational attainment and have lower scores on standardized tests. If they had done a
regional sort of thing
give
rather than a racial
preferred, we'll give preferred acceptance to people that are in these geographic areas. So inner cities will give preferred acceptance to. The hollers will give preferred acceptance to. And these, let's say, 6 other locations, we will give preferred acceptance to our preparatory academy. That I would have been perfectly fine with, because that's actually going with areas that are acknowledged as having lower educational attainment and lower quality education. So, doesn't mean that they're stupid. It just means that they didn't have the same opportunities. So you have a preparatory system that brings them up, kind of levels out that opportunity. It doesn't entirely do so, but it makes it so that if someone's absolutely brilliant, they're able to shine, they're able to continue on without any issue.
What I think is the major problem with all of this, and one thing that I guess was kind of touched on, but it went in favor of a different sort of like hyperbole. Namely, it's the Asians. And I do believe 100% you are correct in your assessment, Cryptic. I just think that it could be, I guess, explained a little bit better. The major thing that I think is a problem with affirmative action and the way that it was implemented was the fact that the standards by which you have to be judged based around entirely arbitrary characteristics has nothing to do with the average of intelligence or the ability to, grasp the material. So, like, say if an Asian person goes and gets a fairly good GPA, not perfect, but fairly good, should be able to get into college. But because the standards, at least for Asians, were higher, meant that the people that would normally get accepted because of their merit are passed over because the standards are so much higher for no reason.
Yep, and there's been people that have actually died because of that, especially when it comes to medical schools having this fucked criteria, because they're passing over people that would make amazing doctors, or potentially make amazing doctors, by every measure that we have on paper, for people that were suboptimal. And I don't think anyone would be happy hearing, don't worry, your doctor was considered suboptimal, but he was able to graduate.
Well, there's a whole comedy spiel about that from Patrice O'Neill. He's all like, he didn't want to have his surgeon be black. Period. He didn't want a black surgeon.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's it was played for laughs, but I think there was at least a little bit of nugget of truth there, at least when it came to his perspective, and that was from a black man. So,
and the fucked up thing about it is those policies do absolutely breed racism, and they breed racism in a couple of interesting ways.
Weird and fucked up ways. I was going to say, because it's like, then it's going to create resentment for people that, even people that are doing a good job and people that are, there, it's creating resentment because of the color of their skin.
Yep.
And it's just sight unseen.
First way. Oh, go ahead, Cryptic.
Number one, quiz. They're saying you're a bit too loud on chat.
I can't help that.
Okay. The second part is like, look, in regards to other people having, their culture not having the part where they push the kids to be exceptional at school and stuff, right? Well, why is it that is being pushed on my culture when they should?
You should be encouraging others to follow the successful example, not punishing the people that are providing the successful example.
Yes, and thank you for that. And it's just, I disagree with you guys all in terms of like, how using these parameters, right? It is because my parents, said, hey, you need to go to school, you need to go every day, you need to study all that stuff. I was poor, just like they were. I grew up in the projects, just like they were. Okay? Yep. Culture-wise, my culture was like, okay, if you want to get out of this hellhole, you need to go to school. You need to pay attention in class. You need to do your best.
Get a good job, and then once you can, buy some property.
Correct, and I have done all of that.
Yep.
Why would it be that if I have kids, they will be punished for that? That is my biggest issue.
And that's what I was saying. That even if you're looking at, like you said, Laotians tend to test below the average. So if you have a Laotian that moved to the United States, they live in the same sort of ghettos that are normally thought of as black enclaves for some fucking reason. They go to the same fucking schools. So everything other than their family structure is on par with the black community. Well, because their skin is yellow rather than black, fuck you, you don't get to go to college. That's a fucked up thing. And like I said, it breeds racism in several fucked up and interesting ways. One of the ways I've talked about before, where Cryptic, you're a Marine.
Yes, sir.
You are able to run a fair bit. I'm a cripple. I crippled my knee. I'm ridiculously strong. Just running is not my thing. If you and I were going to be in a foot race, and we were told that it was going to be a 500-meter race, but they wanted to set up the race a bit differently. So what they did was they decided that we wouldn't be running the racetrack at the same time, nor would we even be allowed to see each other run the racetrack. So they gave me my time, they gave you your time. And when you arrived at the racetrack, they went, hey, Cryptic, we can't help but notice that you're Asian. So we said that it was going to be a 500-meter race. You're actually going to be running 300 meters. Then also, because you're Asian, you don't have to wear any additional body weights. And, oh yeah, because you're Asian, we're going to shave off some time So whatever your time is, we're going to subtract at least a second and a half, maybe 2 seconds from that time.
Hmm.
Oh, and also, because you're Asian, not only will you be running the shorter race, not have to wear any body weight, the amount of time will be subtracted, but also because you're Asian and he's white, neither of you are going to be told what your time was in the race, nor are you going to be told how you compared to the other. You're just going to be told whether you won with all these terms.
Right.
And then you run the race, and you win the race. Do you feel accomplished?
No, because you're given an unfair advantage over other people. Like that's and I agree with you on that one. It's like
Yep.
It's
So
called
if
imposter syndrome.
yeah.
Yeah, if you win the race, you feel like you don't actually deserve because you have no clue if you would have won if everything was equal.
For a good example is Justice Thomas, right?
Yep.
He went to Yale. He was an affirmative action baby, right?
Yep.
He does not display his Yale Law School diploma whatsoever. You know why?
Because he didn't feel like he knew for a fact that he had earned his position.
Correct. I mean, he's just one of the smartest justices ever.
Yep.
But he's like, I shouldn't have been Yale. I could have gone to another law school and be just as who he is, you know.
Yep.
And that makes and back to your point about being, let's say, a doctor, right?
Yep.
If I were to go see a doctor and the doctor is a minority, right? And he was during the what's called the affirmative action era, I'd be like, no.
Yeah, it puts in your mind, did this person actually win the race?
Right. And yeah.
What's even more fucked up, so in this situation, we have it where if you win, you don't know that you won, so that sense of victory, that sense of accomplishment has been stolen from you. But then we have the even more fucked up thing of, let's say rather than you won that race that was extremely lopsided, you lost that race, Cryptic. How do you feel now?
I didn't earn this shit.
You feel like it wasn't just that you lost, but you were completely fucking outmatched. You were absolutely goddamn destroyed because you had every advantage for you.
Yeah, it's like you lost with a handicap.
Yeah.
And you still lost.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well,
so if you win, you don't get any sort of ego boost from actually winning. And if you lose, you're destroyed. Because not only did you lose, but you lost when there was, on paper, no fucking way that it should have been possible for you to lose.
Yeah, it's like I lose. It's a loser situation. Yeah. And I agree with that. It's like that's why like if you have the skill, you have the ability, you should be able to stand up for yourself without all these additional bullshit that the government should not mandate all this bullshit at all.
Yep.
And yeah, getting back to the crux of the problem and why it was even instituted in the first place, I think that there was a time where that sort of thing could have had a point. Some sort of amelioration for the disadvantages given, based around geography and the problems that these people did face, red line districts and so on and so forth. But that was a specific period of time that needed to have its amelioration, and it had to go no further.
Yep.
The fact that it just became universal policy is ridiculous. It was a case of, quote, positive discrimination.
Yeah, that was something that we were talking about right before the stream. Where I was saying, oh, go ahead, Adam.
Oh, well, could I just add my little
Yeah, go ahead.
2 cents here.
That's why I gave you the floor.
It's kind of like what Cryptic was saying though, is that even though these people are in an underwhelming place, I guess you could say, um, th- uh, someone like as Cryptic was describing, they were telling themselves how to get out of the hellhole is to better themselves, do this,
Yep.
educate yourself, learn. But see, I think that's where the problem lies. Is it at some point, and it's going to sound really harsh, but at some point the culture just decided, no, it's much easier to just say it's somebody else's problem.
Well,
Or
it
rather,
always-
no matter what I do, I'm always a victim.
Yeah,
is the major thing.
I'm never going to be able to get out of this because even
Yeah.
if I do something right, something's going to happen, and
The man's keeping you down. Yeah.
well, and they'll just
how
stop.
many of you guys have broken a bone before?
I
I've
have.
never.
Yeah.
Well, actually, no. I've broken my clavicle.
Okay, so
Yeah, you did. I was gonna say.
I was like, I've never. Oh wait, yeah, I did. And it's...
Cryptic and Adam will get there. So you know how when you were recovering from a broken bone, you were told not to use it, and you might have been given a device to help you get around so that you didn't have to use it as much. So if you broke a leg bone, you'd be given crutches. You'd be told to use your crutches for a specific period of time. And then after you used it for that specific period of time, you're told to, for instance, if it's a foot bone or a leg bone, you use crutches, and originally you don't put any fucking weight on your foot. But then at a certain point, you're told, okay, now rather than not putting any weight on your foot, every time that you put that crutch down, put your foot down as well. And put as much weight on it as you can bear while using the crutches to take the rest of your body weight. And you'll do that for a while. And then they'll tell you, okay, you've been using 2 crutches, go down to 1 crutch. Again, putting as much weight on your foot as you can, taking the weight off with that 1 crutch. After a bit of time on that, you go down to a cane, and you do the same thing. And then you're not using a crutch, you're just walking, but you're told to take it easy and take breaks. But then you're told to start pushing yourself a bit more and a bit more. The reason is because, yeah, you need that little bit of help at the beginning. But as things go, you need to reduce that amount of help bit by bit by bit until you're good to go. You don't need anything. The
Right.
problem
Yeah,
is
the analogy being that if you just allow the crutch to stay, that leg will atrophy, and
exactly.
that's exactly what the problem is. Yes.
And,
Yep.
yo,
If you just use the crutches, your arms will get jacked, your leg will be fucked.
Even with the crutch analogy, it's the same people who might get caught up with the medication stuff. But no, it's all the person itself has to want to do better for themselves.
Yep.
If not, I mean, it doesn't matter. They're gonna find excuses to keep using the crutch. I mean, that's the whole point.
Absolutely. But at the same time, if you have every doctor that you see telling you need to keep using that crutch, you need to keep using that crutch, you need to keep using that crutch, the chance that you're going to be saying, I need to keep using this crutch, is much greater than if every doctor tells you, okay, you've been using that crutch for what? A month and a half? Okay. Now you're going to be using the crutches while walking. So you're going to put weight on that leg. And every doctor you go to tells you that. You're going to be far more likely to start weaning yourself off the crutch than if everyone's telling you, nope, just keep using it. Just keep using it. This is your new normal. Just keep using it.
So that basically proves the point. Like when government incentivize a program, it will never go away.
Yep.
And
When should go away.
Yeah, and that's the problem with a lot of these programs like welfare. That doesn't fucking end.
And just look at the responses from these. You know, it's
Yeah.
been look at oh you're taking away blah blah blah, and it's like, dude, do you not see what you're saying? Well,
Oh, the
I mean,
most
do you
racist
not hear
ones
what
that
you're
I've
saying?
the most racist ones that I've seen have legit been saying affirmative action has just been done away with. There is no way that black people are going to be able to complete on a meritocratic standard.
Oh,
Exactly.
I saw that tweet and she was fucking racial. You are the most racist fucking person in your life when you think a black person cannot stand on their own without this stupid goddamn
Well,
Yeah,
well, hold on. Now here's where I start because you know the statement is a statement,
Yeah.
but is she just really dumb that she doesn't understand that what she said is racist, or is she does she really think that and really believe that, and even if she does think it's racist, she still thinks it's something that needs to be, it's just a weird, like,
it's the latter because what she did was after she got backlash from saying that black people were inherently inferior because that's exactly what her message was. She, rather than saying, whoa, sorry, I didn't say what I thought I was saying. What I meant to say is that the system would be rigged against black people. No. What she said when she came back, the very first thing that she said was, a bunch of MAGA extremists are really making
Oh
hay
God!
of what I said.
Oh God! Fuck off!
Which, when
I mean, like the intelligent answer to that, if you actually believed it, would be the fact that they would say that now black people can't get into that institution because that institution is racist, and because without like diversity quotas, they won't get hired because that person or that institution is going to discriminate against them because of the color of their skin. That is the only argument you can make.
Yep.
That is the only argument you can make. Because if you make any argument other than that, you're the racist.
Yep. You would have to make that argument, and you, again, have to come out and say, I've been misinterpreted. I'm sorry. I should have said this clearer. What I meant to say is that I don't think that any so-called meritocratic system would actually be a meritocratic system. I think that it's always going to be discriminatory, so if it's always going to be discriminatory, let's make it discriminatory in the way that I want it to be discriminatory.
I was going to say, but there can be a case to be made for some institutions actually retaining that sort of discriminatory attitudes or policies or whatever. But that sort of thing already is illegal. And if you catch that and have a legitimate, proof that they are discriminating in that sort of way, go to the police.
Yep, and the thing that drives me crazy the most with it is, as Inquisitor and I were talking about before stream, people seem to forget the reason why laws exist.
Yeah.
You don't need a law against something that people won't do. If people... The example that I always use, and the same one that I used with Inquisitor, so Inquisitor, sorry, you have to hear it again.
Oh, God!
You don't have to have a law saying you aren't allowed to have hippos fly a 747. Because no one's going to try to have a hippo fly a 747. The hippo doesn't even fit in the goddamn cockpit of a 747.
Oh, no, you could probably make one fit.
You'd have to make a modified cockpit. It would be fucking
weird. Yeah. It's difficult, yeah. But how dare you discriminate against that hippo that got its pilot's license?
But no one has done that, so you don't have to make a law against it. The entire reason that Jim Crow laws came into being was racists didn't like the fact that business owners would look at black people and go, well, your money's just as green as that dude's. What do you want to buy? Here it is. Goodbye. And they would hire black people because they do the same work. They would sell black people things because their money's just as green. And people didn't like that. So they had to institute a law making it illegal to do so. You wouldn't have to make a law instituting racism if racism was actually a standard facet of society. Now, eventually, with a law in place for long enough, you could end up where racism does get ingrained in a society. But even
it becomes
then,
learned behavior at that point.
yeah, it
it's
becomes
not
learned behavior.
Yeah.
But even then, if the legal pressure is removed, that drive to maintain that element of society falls apart. And when people start realizing that, oh yeah, I haven't allowed group X to come to my store, but now I have a competition that is allowing both group Y, which I've always allowed in my store, and group X, which I've never allowed in my store, to go to their store. Well, they're selling more products than I am. And now I'm getting even fewer people coming to my store. And eventually they realize that either they stick by their beliefs and they don't make the sales to people that they don't want to sell to, in which case their livelihood dies, but it's them effectively committing suicide with that. Or they go, okay, I might not like it, but I'll fucking let them come to my store. And the business that allows anyone, as long as your money's the same shade of green as everyone else, to come to their store is going to have a easier time maintaining a large client base, which will allow them to get into the economies of scale. And it's just infuriating. And yeah, South African blacks are a good example with this as well. And you were about to say, I think it was Cryptic inhaled.
Oh, I was going to say something. Another decision that came into my purview because it involves my state is the 303. It involves free speech also, right? 303 Creative versus Helenis court decision, where basically Supreme Court said you cannot compel this web. So for the folks that don't know, the 303 LLC basically was a creative LLC, was a lady. She was a freelance web designer, right? And she was asked to create a gay theme, LGBT theme website, and she's like, I'm not going to do that because it's against my religious belief.
Yep.
And Colorado passed some law that says you have to do it even though it's against your religious belief. Well, the Supreme Court says, no, dumbass. It went to the 10th Circuit, and they affirmed what Colorado law was. So the Supreme Court is like, you cannot force somebody to violate their First Amendment.
Yeah, the thing, it's a guy refusing to make the gay wedding cake all over.
Yeah, masterpiece cake, yeah.
It would be one thing if it was you came in, you were asking to buy a cake that was on display or a prefab template for a website, and you said, hey, I'd like to buy this cake or buy the rights to use this template. And they went, well, no, I'm not going to allow you to do that because you're a poof. It's another thing entirely if you're saying, I want you to make this custom thing that is not just one of the things that you have set up already. I want you to make this custom thing to these specifications. and they say,
I'm just
well,
gonna-
no, I don't agree with that.
I'm just going to come right out here and say, amongst the entire panel here, remember who the liberal is. You are under no obligation to give anyone a good or service that you don't want to, period.
Yep.
Full stop.
Yeah.
You can refuse service, goods and service to anyone for any reason, period. Full stop. There should be no legal constraints on being able to provide anything for your business. Now, in terms of what people's perception of your business will be, that is not regulated under the law.
Yep. And I'm
So if
saying
you don't want to make this website, that's fine. Your reputation will suffer because of it. People will give you bad Yelp reviews. People will stop going to your place to get new websites. That is perfectly fine. That is nothing to do with the law.
Yeah,
think,
what I'm saying,
But Chris, what I'm saying is Colorado passed a law that forced that to happen.
I know.
So that's what the
Colorado's in the wrong.
yeah, and it went up all the way up to the 10th Circuit, which is fucking crazy.
You cannot compel someone to be a customer as much as you can, or just as much as you cannot compel someone to buy from you or for you to sell to them. There is no way that law should ever be a thing.
Yep.
You cannot compel economic exchanges. You cannot compel economic exchanges.
Yeah, what I was getting at, though, is there's a difference in degree between those. And yeah, I would agree in neither case should you be able to compel. But I think that people would have a leg to stand on if someone was going, yep, I have all these options, you pay this amount, you get this product, and then someone who comes in is going to pay the full value. They aren't trying to get a discount or anything fucked up that is untoward, and they're looking at a cake that you have on display and they go, I would like that cake. Here's the money that I have for it. Unless you've already sold the cake to someone else, the proper response would be, okay, yep, that's how much that cake costs. Here's the cake, I'll take your money.
But in that scenario, that shop owner does have the right to sit there and say, I don't like your taste, I'm not selling you that cake.
Oh,
So-
I would agree, but I would also say that people would have a valid leg to stand on to then look at that shop owner and go, you're a fucking asshole.
Yes, and then you go someplace else where you can buy the cake and leave plenty of reviews saying, "Hey, don't go to this guy's establishment. He's an asshole."
Yeah, but the thing is,
That's how the free market fucking works.
what
Yeah,
the problem?
I agree, but I'm saying that in the second case, where it's, hey, you take commissions, and you agree to take the commission or you don't agree to take the commission. I want to commission this. I don't want to do that. That shouldn't be something that then people are able to pile on, or that shouldn't be something that people do pile on and say, well, this person didn't take my commission because it.
Well, it's the same. It's the same thing.
No.
It's the same thing.
Quiz.
What?
This is what they're saying is what you're saying is correct, and that's exactly the scenario that should have taken place. Is the patron should have gone to a different cake place. However, what they did was they went to the judicial system to try and close that down and make it law that they have to do whatever these people want. And what the problem is the free market, that scenario doesn't work when it's only on a small group basis, and that's why they went to the legal system, is because they could have gone that, and in a just world, the judge would have looked at it and been like, no, go to a different cake, instead of, yeah, actually, you know what, you should have to do that. We're seeing the opposite, though. If it's a bigger audience or a bigger group that can tackle this problem with Bud Light, more people are saying, I'm not going to purchase this, so they're losing a lot more money. They're feeling that effect. With this, it's a small group against a smaller type of personal corporation type thing. So it's you're right in a sense that that is the opt path to go. However, the circumstances that we find ourselves in current year, so to speak, it's topsy turvy, Lord. So it didn't have to get to the 10th Circuit. It should
Yeah,
have.
no, it shouldn't have. It
The
shouldn't
first,
have. It should never have been a law in the first place.
yeah,
Yep.
we shouldn't. And there was not only was it I think it's two different bakeries, but it was also I think it was like an apple orchard that didn't want to do a wedding because they were a Christian
Yep.
orchard. So I mean, it's these small targeted instances that are trying to write the laws so that they would. I mean, you got to think about it. What are they going to do in the future with these types of laws?
And
Now they're
again,
going to compel you to do whatever they want for whatever reason.
yep.
And you could be
again,
damn sure if it was
And that's
the opposite around. I'm sorry, I'm lingering, but if it was the
Oh, no.
opposite way around, and a Christian person went into an LGBTQ plus or whatever bakery and said, "Hey, I want you to say, Christ is Lord," and like a Bible verse that condemns or says bad things about gay people or something, put that in there, and you know damn well that they'd be like, no, we can't do that because we're oppressed and we're a minority, and how dare you
Oh,
do
yeah.
this? But that's the game they're playing. So I mean, this is where it's like,
Yeah. It's power politics. It's
Yeah.
absolutely power politics. And the thing about it is that more people should be calling it out, and that's entirely across the divide.
Yep. And
It's
I agree with
obvious.
that.
Like, it's obvious.
I agree with that. And what I was trying to point out is that there's a important degree of difference between just a straight up business transaction and one that is a creative business, to my mind. Because, like I said, if
I'll tell you this much: as a creative Sanguine, there's no difference. If I say tomorrow, I open up commissions to draw something. If I lay down my rules about what I can and cannot be commissioned for, and someone comes up and says, "Hey, draw this thing that I clearly outlined is not something I'm not going to do," I'm not going to do it, and you can't compel me to do
but
it.
that's where I'm saying that we're in agreement, because when it comes to a complete standard non-creative business transaction, it's you have product, this is price of product, someone comes up, says, I would like to buy product, here's money, that's the price of product, and you exchange it. Where I'm saying that that's different is, in that case, there isn't really these are and there isn't. It's a different way of it being done, because the way that you limit what sort of things you sell in the first case is you just don't have those products in your store.
Or you don't make them. I mean, truth be told, there is no real syntax difference between them. It's just that you're arguing the difference between a good and a service. Really, that's all it comes down to. Is the fact that if I make something on commission, then it'll be because of that.
And it's the commission aspect that I'm talking about, because if you're able to be commissioned to decorate a cake or to draw a picture, and
you can negotiate that before the service is complete.
Yep,
and that is where it comes down to. It's not the fact that I'm not selling you something, is that we are negotiating what I am making for you.
Yep, and that's where
so it's just taking place before the product is there, is all it really is.
Yeah.
So in fact, actually, it's better. In fact, I would say that that's even better, because then you're getting number one, in that exchange, you're getting a customized piece directly to your liking or your desires, and number two, for the creative person in that regard, you can set your boundaries.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I'm saying that boundary to me is more ironclad than when it comes to I sell wrenches, let's say. And it doesn't matter who walks in, if they say, I want that wrench, and here's the payment for that wrench, and as long as the denomination is correct and the currency is correct, then to my mind, it's, yep, here's the wrench.
Yeah, but that wasn't, wasn't the argument to begin with. It wasn't selling a already produced good. It was they asked them to do something custom,
which is what I was saying.
Yeah,
which is what I was saying. Yeah. That if it was that it was an already made cake, that it wasn't asking for special handmade decoration. It wasn't asking for an artistic modification. Because to my mind,
the lock is right there.
You shouldn't be allowed to tell an artist that they need to make this for you. You can ask an artist to make something for you, and they can.
I don't see very much of a difference between like a person coming in and wanting to buy a wrench and the shop owner saying, "I don't like your face. I'm not going to sell you that wrench," and someone who's coming up and saying, I want you to draw this for me. Well, I don't draw that. So sorry, go someplace else. I can recommend you a couple of other artists who would be willing to draw that, but I won't. Sorry. I don't see a difference between them.
And that might just be a difference between us, because I do see a noted difference between those two.
Well, I mean, one is just a patently ridiculous scenario. Say, I don't like your face. I'm not selling you that. But, I'm being hyperbolic.
I think that both of them should be legal, but I can understand in an instance where you're just asking to buy a product that you aren't asking for any modification, you aren't asking for any custom, you're just asking for a wrench, a glass, whatever the fuck it is. And you're going, I want that one. And someone then goes, no, fuck you, leave. I can understand people getting more pissed off about that than if they go, okay, I want this very specific form of artwork. Well, I don't want to make that. If someone gets pissed off at that second one, I'm going, wow, the person getting pissed off is a real asshole. If someone gets
it's smacks of entitlement,
yeah, if someone gets pissed off at the first one, I'm thinking more, wow, that businessman was a real asshole.
Yeah, that businessman's a real asshole. How about you go over to this hardware store and leave a bad Yelp review on that other businessman's paper? But I think it's the same thing with the creative too. If the creative doesn't want to make that thing that you commissioned, then you can go to some other person, have whatever you wanted commissioned, and say, hey guys, if you want to use this artist, just know that you can't commission this thing because he told me no. That's fine too.
With that aspect, I'm saying that. In those two instances, I would place the wow, they're an asshole on a different person depending on which of those cases it is.
I mean, you can sit there and say that for different scenarios too. I mean, like if someone is okay with furry art and doesn't, or someone's not okay with furry art, a furry commissions them, they turn them down, and the other person goes like, hey, this person doesn't like furry art, what an asshole. I'm sure to some furries that would be a bad thing.
I suppose, but at the same time, as the quote-unquote executive furry, my response would be, wow, that furry is an asshole.
I mean, it's a little bit of a double-edged sword.
Yeah, and
some people make like ridiculous decisions even when it comes to creative, stuff too.
Oh yeah, I absolutely agree with that. I was just saying that to my mind, there's
more. I guess there's more leniency when it comes to that too, because like if a person doesn't want to make something because it's outside of a boundary that they don't want to cross, then they're under no compulsion to do that. But at the same time, it makes you look like the asshole if you're trying to force them to do what they don't want to do.
Exactly. Whereas if the product's already made and you're just trying to buy it, and the person selling the product doesn't have a good reason, like, no, fuck you, you fucked my wife, why the hell would I do business with you? Then I would be going, man, that businessman is a dick. He's just refusing to sell this shit to someone for no fucking reason. Just, no, fuck you, fuck off. That like I said, there's a different point of blame. If someone's being an asshole in a store, yeah, absolutely makes sense when someone goes, yeah, get the fuck out. We don't want your business here. But if it's just, I want to buy this product, well,
I mean,
you have brown hair. I fucking hate people with brown hair. Fuck off.
I don't know. Could you explain it to me one more time? I don't think I quite got it.
there's some scenarios where I could say
Careful,
that
Adam. I'm a Spurg. I absolutely will.
yeah, I was gonna say, don't tempt him. He'll do it. But no, like the other thing that I like, a scenario I could think of where that would work is like if you got someone who came into your store and was being an absolute dickhead, right? And then later on, you come to find out that there's another guy coming in wanting to buy something, but you saw him outside talking with the guy that was being an asshole, so or rather you're inferring that this guy is coming inside to buy items for that guy.
Yep.
You can just sit there and say, no, go fuck yourself, dude.
Yeah, and that's where I said that you need more of a backstory in the first case than you do in the second case in order to justify it to my mind.
Sure.
Because, no, I don't want to do that sort of art. That's something that I go, okay, yeah, no problem. No, I don't like your kind, and I'm not going to sell this wrench to your kind. Okay, what the fuck did he mean by that? Like I said, the just already established product seems more of an asshole than the artistic work.
Can I interject in a new topic just for a second?
Go for it.
Student loan forgiveness.
Fuck that. Shouldn't happen.
Oh, it got struck down 6-3 in the Supreme Court.
Yeah. It's fantastic.
Do you know what the funniest part of that was?
The people that were counting on it and are now freaking out.
Well, yes, and okay, I'll give you that. But they quoted Nancy Pelosi.
Nice.
Good
topic.
Yeah, they quoted Nancy Pelosi. Said, people think the president of the United States has the power for debt forgiveness. He doesn't.
Oh.
He can postpone. He can delay, but he does not have the power. That has to be an act of Congress. And that was a press. That was a press conference in July 28, 2021.
Yep.
That is actually in the fucking decision.
Glorious.
How would they even do that?
They can't. Well, they can't. They will. So Biden has a trying to do another way around it. He's trying.
The original attempt was effectively just they would have whatever cleric is keeping track of all those, zero them out.
Yeah, that
was the intention.
Well,
because the universities have already been paid. It's not like the universities are waiting on the money. It's that it was going through federal loans, and they were just going to zero out the federal loans or reduce the federal loan amount by, what was it, $10,000?
Depending on your income, 10 to 20,000. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, they're just going to zero out that amount from the loan total, which again they don't have the right to do, as the court ruled, and as is the proper answer to that fucking bit of bullshit. But that was their intention, to just zero it out.
Yeah, the order that they had used was the Heroes Act, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Heroes Act was basically for military personnel that were in debt in college, but they were like a war veteran and all that stuff. But the family he passed, or the family passed. They try to use that to like do it for everybody, and the Supreme Court was like, no, you can't fucking do that. The law was its purpose. You do not cannot extend it to everybody else, because COVID was quote unquote we'll try to
Was
what's
a
the-
yeah.
I'm trying to remember the word. Yeah, a situation.
Extenuating circumstances.
There you go. Yes, yes. And they try to use that. It got smacked down today also, um, or yesterday, and it's just like you don't have the authority to fucking the purse, you stupid shitbags.
Mhm.
The Constitution reserved the right of the purse to the, you know, Congress. Period. And they were trying to bypass that with this using the hero to buy votes. Yeah, and you know what? Assassin is right. They were just trying to buy votes with that. They promised it for fucking 4 years, and the Supreme Court has finally said like, no, because
I hate to say it, but they used the perfect buyers, because these are also the people who went in and said, "Hey, if I take out this hefty loan and go in for a college degree, for a bachelor's degree in whatever, I'll come out and get a shit ton of money." Waka waka.
Well, the thing
And
is
they tell
that
the same people, "Hey, if you vote for me, I'll take away all those debts."
even with the stupidity of that bullshit, they still end up winning out in the long run in the stats right now. Which that's the part that always pissed me off about all this shit, where they're going, well, I was forced to pay this massive amount of money. No, you weren't forced. You decided to do it. Also, you're earning more money after doing it. Even in the shitty economy that we currently have right now, you're still earning, I think it's almost 20,000 more dollars a year than someone who didn't attend college. So stop trying to have this be a welfare program that is taking money from people that don't have it and giving it to people that do.
but that's their plan is just to do that so that if you fucking what try to voice anything against it, they can unperson you,
Yep.
and that's just not right. So
Yeah.
So you guys aren't going to like this, but I'm going to 100% disagree with you on that.
okay, you what is yours?
Because my whole thing, I went to college, and am I making that kind of money? Fuck no!
Yeah.
No, I'm
The
not.
idea that people are.
Like I said, it's
I'm
on average
certainly not making that money.
No,
And I'm of the idea that I'm saving up a little bit of extra money for my funeral, and what I'm gonna have engraved on my headstone is "Come and get it, Sally Mae."
so quiz, okay?
Yes.
That's funny. So, but the thing is, so the education industry is basically going to push people towards going to college, and they shouldn't have to.
Well,
Yep.
hold on.
I personally think that college, number one, is a gigantic fucking scam for 99.9% of people. They will
And I
put
agree
out
with you.
a shit ton of money and get nothing in return.
Well,
Right.
I gotta add the caveat that, and Quiz, I don't know if you fall into this, but I certainly fell into it. And it was not so much, well, I can't say I fell. It's not so much that people were just taking out loans and going for whatever degree, because I'm sure there was a lot of those people, but there was also a lot of people that went into degrees that had, an idea of what they wanted to do, but it just nothing came of it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And um, the only thing I can say on that is, now I think people have it a little easier, that they can network better, and and do startups. And we're also seeing the collapse of a lot of bigger places. So a lot of creative people can pick up that torch and go with it. However, yeah, there's a lot of people out there that pretty much, hey, I'm gonna be an HR rep and inject this into a business. Oh, there's those positions are filled.
See,
Somebody pay my
the
college.
stance that I would hold, because I don't think that it should be refunded. I
No.
do think that the school system, how we currently have it set up, is predatory. So there'd be a few things that I would do in order to make it substantially less. One of the first things that I would do, get rid of the bullshit about, yep, government funded federal loans. Get rid of that. The government pumping money into this system is breaking it more, not fixing it. So just purge that shit from the system. Then after you purge that shit from the system, what you do is you look into everything, you look into how it's currently set up, and you make it so that there's a clawback clause to every single fucking loan when it comes to school. And when you have that clawback clause, it would be stated very clearly, in the simplest way that you can, that if you went to school and if you got above a certain grade point average, let's say a 3.0. So if you went to college, you got above a 3.0, and with a good faith effort, you could not get a position with that major within a set amount of time, then the school just has to eat that loss. You're refunded.
See, the only thing I say with that is that position available in that area? You know, because oftentimes you can go to college for something and there's nothing in that area that is offering anything for that position,
Which
and
is
so
where the good faith effort comes in, because what I think should be the case, and what was the case at one point in history, was that universities would have a specialized department that was their placement department. And what they would do is anyone that got above a certain grade point average, they would meet with those people and they'd go, okay, do you have a job lined up for after college? And they'd do this all within their last year of going to college. If the person went, yep, I have a job lined up, they would make sure that it was a good fit for them. They would ask some questions, get the information, and if they were content, if the person was content with the job that they had lined up, fantastic. You're good to go. If you didn't have a job lined up, they would go, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to help you find some jobs. And they would put in the effort to help you find jobs that fit your level of education and fit your proficiency in it. They would have a bunch of businesses that would come to schools and go, hey, we're going to be looking to hire X number of people in this coming season. We'll give you 5% of that number of people that we're hiring. And colleges would use that as a, hey, we have a job with such and such a group that is looking to hire. If you don't have a position, how do you feel about working for them?
All right, so hold on. We got a couple of things we got to address here in the chat. Cannibalistic Wizard, I say if someone does take the college debt forgiveness, they should lose that degree. Done.
Yep, absolutely.
Done, son. It's not like I'm using it anyway.
The only thing I say about that is, if I got a degree, if I completed college and I actually got my degree in animation, I would hope that taking away the degree would not also take away my animation skills. I mean, that's
I was
the
gonna
other
say,
thing is, like,
yeah,
I
you
didn't
you
go to
wouldn't
school, just to, get a
get a fancy
basic
paper.
degree. I actually went for a skill. So I mean,
Yeah, I was gonna say, Adam,
awesome.
they're not sucking your brain meats out to
Yeah.
to
So,
do
I
that.
mean, but hey,
So you can still animate.
I paid off my student loan, so I don't have to fucking
Oh,
worry.
I
All they're
haven't
doing
because
is
yeah, no,
they're-
Sally Mae can go fuck themselves.
all they're doing is they're pulling your piece of paper. So if you
Yeah.
get a forgiveness for it, yeah, you should lose it. Just like how I'm of the mind that if you get paid reparations, okay, what African nation do you want to go to?
Another one here, Frosted Glass said, good faith effort is too nebulous and difficult to prove one way or the other. Sorry to break it to you, man. That's exactly how the world works. I mean, fucking unemployment use that same language. You have to make a good faith effort to get hired to collect unemployment.
Yeah.
And I do think that we need to be more restrictive on good faith effort. One of the things that I think that we should do for unemployment, and we should do for this sort of policy, is after someone applies to position, we should go to that person that they just applied for and go, okay, so can you tell us how they showed up and how they interviewed? Because one of the things that happens a lot with unemployment is you'll have people that they're told that they need to apply to a certain number of jobs every year or every X amount of time.
Well, it's every week. At least here in Illinois it was.
So every week. So what they'll do is, yeah, they'll apply and they'll get interviews for the position every week. But what they'll also do is they'll make sure that they show up in the rattiest fucking clothing. And they answer every question like they couldn't give a shit. And they'll do everything within their power to make sure that they don't get the job.
Well, to be fair, Sanguine, I came to this job's interview, the one I'm currently at, in my ratty-ass clothing because I came directly from my other job that I was working at the time. And answered a lot of the questions in kind of a flippant sort of manner because I was kind of pissed off at my current job. But the interviewee liked my attitude because he has the same kind of attitude, and they hired me.
That can be accounted for, but what I'm saying is that you have a lot of people that will purposefully poison any job.
Yeah, they'll poison their well. Yeah, that's true. I say it all comes down to the fact that there's too many people that are perfectly fine with living off of the government teat, and those people I think do need to be investigated because the government loves to come after people for all kinds of shit. You don't pay your child support, you better fucking believe the government going to get that money.
Yep.
But do they make that same sort of effort for a lot of people on welfare that are just kind of collecting welfare for no real terrible effort to improve the situation?
Not a chance in hell.
Do you really need to ask that question? I mean, they're living off the government teat. The government isn't going to spend its own money and resources to go investigate why these people aren't making. They're going to go after the people who are working, so that they can take their money.
Yeah, that's true. Very true. I never thought of it that way, but yeah, you're absolutely fucking right. Yeah, they're going to go after the people that have money that they can take.
Oh yeah, and I would
what do you think
agree,
when you hear about like traffic stops and it's like, they always pull over all these people. They look for the cars that look like they have. Oh, they don't do. Yeah, no, they do because they know if they go after the beater, they're not gonna get shit from that. You know,
Yep.
they're not gonna go after the old lady.
I'm saying that the system that I would want to have in place. I know that this isn't exactly realistic, but it's.
Assassin of the Grey said. Put out over 5,000 applications, got less than 1% responses. Tell me they'd pick someone else or below zero and zero interviews. I've had the same thing, my guy. That's exactly the same sort of thing. And guess what?
Assassin,
I was denied my unemployment too.
Assassin, I already said that the government backing should be taken away from the loans, so I wasn't going at it from the wrong direction. I already said what you gave as a critique. And some schools have those programs.
Well, I was going to say
Most
that
of
at least
them have allowed them to die on the vine, and they
Yeah,
don't
and
really
in
put
terms
any
of
effort into them. Whereas
my
I'm saying
personal
that places-
situation.
Yep, go ahead.
And, well, in terms of my personal situation, the amount that I owe the least on is my federal loan. I think I owe like only $2,000 on my federal loan, where I owe like $16,000 is on my fucking private financial loan. Yeah,
And the thing is,
which is
that
why
if
I
we
sat
got-
there and said, "Come and get it, Sally Mae."
which is part of the issue. If we got rid of the federal funding, the funding or the price of college would plummet. Because
Yeah,
when you look at the cost of college, it has risen.
well, it's
not-
untenable.
It has risen in an untenable fashion. It has risen entirely when you look at the amount of government funding. It tracks directly with the amount of government funding.
The thing
So,
that's
Get rid of
crazy
that
to me.
government funding, and you'll get rid of a lot of that problem.
The thing that's crazy to me is when you look at the cost of med school.
Yep.
I mean, you have to go there for at least 8 years, if not 12.
Yep.
And you've got over $750,000 worth of debt. Yes, doctors get paid a lot of money, but doctors also have to spend a lot of money just to be a doctor.
Yep.
Do you think that every doctor doesn't automatically have a malpractice lawyer on retainer?
Yeah.
Think again, my guy.
It's something that I've gone through a lot when it comes to the cost of medical care, because everyone loves to talk about, well, medical care costs way too fucking much. Yes, medical care does cost too much. There's a reason why medical care costs too much. One of the main reasons why medical care... Oh, go ahead, Cryptic.
Oh, I was going to mix it. It's because they're French Canadians.
Nice. So the main reason why medical care costs way fucking too much in the United States, when you look at it broken down, is the malpractice insurance. Because when you look at the broken down cost, you're paying for the malpractice of your doctor. And not just your doctor, but any doctor that even walked into the room during your time in the hospital. You're paying for the malpractice of every nurse that walked into the room.
They're all culpable if you file for a malpractice, every single person is culpable.
Yep. So you're paying the malpractice insurance of every nurse. You're paying the malpractice insurance of every pharmacist that was consulted when it came down to it. You're paying the malpractice insurance of every because even like the janitors have to be covered on this shit, because if they do something wrong, they can spread diseases.
Yeah.
So you're paying for every single employee that entered your room or was even anywhere near your room. The facility as a whole also has theirs. The pharmacy within the facility or outside of the facility, depending on, has their own. The transporters have their own bits of insurance to keep from being sued. So what you're doing is you're paying a fuck ton of insurance, and then after you trim away all that insurance and you've just removed at least half to 75% of your medical bill, you're left with things that were actually medical in your medical bill. This is the amount of time that the doctors took treating you. This is the amount of time that you spent in the hospital. This is the amount of time that you took to do X, Y, Z.
Well, I mean, like the good one for me, at least in terms of my personal experience, is I went in with a horrible muscle spasm in my left
Yep.
shoulder. Right. I went to a doctor, and the doctor, I had to wait, to get put in a room so the doctor could come in. He didn't even like examine me, didn't do anything. He just came in and said, "Yeah, you got a muscle spasm. I'm gonna go and prescribe you some muscle relaxers," and then left. Like he didn't like run any tests, didn't draw blood, nothing. Right?
Yep.
$2,000.
Yeah. And this is also a major.
I wish I got paid $2,000 every 9 minutes.
Also a major problem because there's a bunch of different sorts of doctors. So one of the best doctors that I ever had is this doctor that was older than most of the topsoil. And I'm pretty sure that you would have to dig several feet down before you'd get soil anywhere near as old as this doctor was. Just absolutely fucking ancient. Couldn't type and talk at the same time. But he knew his fucking shit to an absolutely ridiculous degree. So I went in at the time, I had 2 torn muscles in my right shoulder. He saw me, saw how fucking big I am. The minions that have seen me in person know I'm a big fucking dude. So he looked at me, he went, "Okay, so tell me what happened." I told him what happened, and he said, "I'm not even going to try to do a strength test on you because I'm very old and you're way too fucking big to do a strength test on and have me determine anything is different. You could lose about 25% of your strength in one of your arms and it would still feel the same to me.
Mm-hmm.
So, not going to do strength tests, not going to do any of that shit." So he looked at my shoulder. He poked and prodded it in several places, had me turn it this way, that way. And then after a few moments, he went, "Okay. So, first thing, you have at least 2 torn muscles in your right shoulder. Ripped completely off the bone. So that'll need to be dealt with surgically. But also, you didn't mention that your entire pectoral was sore, your right pectoral. I'm assuming that's because you said this injury happened when you were playing football, and you said that you were a lineman. So you're just used to your chest kind of aching because you get hit by other dudes as big as you are. Am I right in that? Yeah, it doesn't feel any different than normal. Well, it is different than normal. You strained every single muscle in your right pectoral. Also, you didn't mention your right back/shoulder was hurting. So, you didn't mention that for roughly the same reason, yeah? Yeah, it doesn't feel any different. Well, it should feel different. You strained every muscle in your right back/shoulder as well. So you have 2 torn muscles. You've overstressed all of the muscles in your right pectoral, overstressed all of the muscles in your right back/shoulder. So those will just need to be rested. The muscles will need surgery. And then you also mentioned that your hand hurt. It feels like you probably pinched a nerve when your arm went back in the socket. So your hand, if it continues aching past the next 2-3 days, we'll need to look into it again. But if it stops aching by then, yeah, it was just you kind of pinched a nerve as it went back into the socket. You'll be good to go. So I did all that in fairly short order. Then immediately after going through that, he was putting in the script into the computer for me to go see MRI and get that done, and then to go to the specialist to get my shoulder examined after the MRI. And then he looks over at me again and goes, What did you say your pain scale or your pain was on the pain scale again? Well, it's like a 3 or a 4. Okay, you just have a ridiculous pain threshold because, again, you ripped fucking muscles off the bone. This isn't something that an anti-inflammatory can deal with. So I'm going to prescribe you narcotics. Don't take too many of these. Take like 1 a night when you're going to sleep. And if you really
Oh, my
piss
what?
off your shoulder,
Oh,
you can take 1.
do you need the bigger one?
You can take 1 during the day, but otherwise, just 1 a night when you're going to sleep.
Even bigger.
So I did all that in really short order. Sent me on my way. Best doctor I've ever had, because turned out every fucking thing he said in that examination 100% accurate. And we need more doctors like that. We need doctors that actually know what they're doing, that will pay attention to what the patient says, not just
I think the major
everything else.
problem with a lot of our medical stuff here in America is number one, the prevalence of malpractice, just in and of itself. I mean, I get the fact that you want to be protected in case doctors misdiagnose you or mistreat you, all that kind of stuff. I get it, but that should not be the default, if that makes sense. People should have a lot more faith in the medical system. Number two, the pharmaceutical system needs to get out of the bed with fucking the UN. That is one of the major reasons why we have such a fucked up medical practice, is because we have to pay for foreign medication when we develop medication on a patent. In pharmaceutical industries, when they patent a new medication, they need to give it to the world, and they need to give it to the world at cost. So then now when it comes to them recouping the R&D costs, they overcharge the fuck out of that same medication here in the United States. Because why? Insurance will cover it.
Yeah, what we should do is
a lot of those ideas are just ass backwards.
We need to stop being as kind to every other nation when it comes to the medicine that we develop, because the US develops over 51% of every novel medication in the world.
Yeah, like there's something to be said for the humanitarian efforts and so on and so forth. That's fine, okay? If you want to do that and everything, that's fine. But compelling the medical industry to foot the bill for that, then that's just wrong. If you want to have those sorts of medications being accessed all around the world, then private charities need to foot the bill for that, instead of having their second fucking gala of the year where they're spending $200,000 just to have a whole bunch of celebrities show up and wank off into the fucking champagne bottles. You need to actually spend that money on buying that medication and sending it where it needs to go. How about that? Just an idea.
Yeah, it's infuriating because the people going, well, it's just the pharmaceutical agencies are being greedy. No, it isn't. Do you know what?
No, the pharmaceutical agencies, need to develop R&D. They need to, practically make the medication, and then they need to distribute it. That's a business, and they need to be paid for it.
Yep. And
people don't R&D for free.
Do you know what % of medicines fail?
Oh, there's a lot.
What % of novel medicines fail? So only about 5. So when you look at novel medicines, a bunch of them fail pre-trial runs. So you have the trying to remember the
Raymond Lewis. No, that
you have the
that's a forklift.
You have the preclinical trials, and a good chunk of medicines fail preclinical trials. This is actually the best case scenario. If a medicine's going to fail, you want it to fail preclinicals. After preclinicals, you have the first clinical trials. Less than failed the first, or the preclinicals, fail the first clinical trial. This is the second best option, because every time that you go deeper into the clinical trials, you get fewer and fewer medicines that actually succeed. So it's something like, I want to say 60% end up failing in preclinicals. Then you go to the first clinical trial, and now you're up to about 75% have failed the first clinical trial. 75 to 80% have failed the first clinical trial. So you're dealing with somewhere in between 20 and 25% make it to the second clinical trial. And then you'll have another batch fail. So normally by the end of second clinical trial, you're at about 90% of meds have failed. And then you go into the third clinical trial. And the third clinical trial, on average, you're looking at somewhere between 95 and 98% of medicines have failed. So you're dealing with somewhere in the ballpark of 1/20th to 1/50th of all attempted novel medicines will fail. Or, sorry, all attempted novel medicines will succeed. 1/20th to 1/50th. And a good chunk of them have the good grace to fail early. Not all of them do. So some of them you've spent billions on before they actually bomb out and you realize that your billions spent on this has led to fucking nothing. So when you end up with that one medicine that actually works, that 1 in 20, 1 in 50 medicine, you're paying for the other 19 to 49 medicines that didn't succeed, as well as trying to turn a profit on that. Oh, and by the way, not only is it that you'll have that like one that ends up succeeding in that, but you have to then turn your profit, recoup all your losses within a 20-year period from the time that you submitted your patent. Do you know when you happen to submit your patent for a medication? Anyone happen to know? Inquisitor, Cryptic, Adam?
No.
So you have preclinicals, you have first clinical, you have second clinical, you have third clinical, you have market. So at which of those 4 steps do you think they have to patent their medicine? Okay, I'm just going to answer. You normally patent your med at the end of preclinicals. Do you guys happen to know how long it takes from the start of clinicals to the end of clinicals on average for a medicine? I'm going to take the silence as a no. On average, it takes 12 years. Do you guys want to guess how long a patent for a medicine is? It's 20 years. So you've patented your one medicine that actually succeeded out of your 20 to 50 medicines that you've attempted. You patented it at the end of preclinicals. You go through your 12 years of clinical trials. Now you have 8 years in which you can recoup the loss of all your R&D and then turn a profit, because you're a business that's trying to make a profit. You need to fucking make that profit. So you have that. Then, in those 8 years, you're able to produce the medicine. You're the only one able to produce the medicine. You're able to set the value for the medicine. After those 8 years, generics are able to come on the market. If you haven't made a name for yourself that everyone will constantly reach for after generics are on the market, you don't turn a profit. You're now losing money for a medicine that you made. So that's why medicine's so fucking expensive. That's why medicine's so fucking expensive.
Oh, medicine, shit. You think about medicine, right? A lot of these companies spent billions and billions of dollars on research, right?
Again?
I said a lot of these companies, they spend billions of dollars on research on medicine, right? But what's cheaper, curing somebody or treating somebody?
Killing someone's going to be easier every time.
Yeah, treating somebody because they keep on coming back, right? But like if you cure somebody, let's say you cure somebody of AIDS, right?
It's a permanent solution that is very quickly done.
Correct. And that's the biggest issue with a lot of these pharmaceutical companies. Like they can do it, but they won't because they'll lose majority of their revenue, right? So
yeah, it's the problem of it takes a lot to develop the med to treat someone.
yes,
Then the medicine, once it's developed, a lot of them have shelf lives. And those shelf lives are, for instance, let's go through antibiotics, because I know antibiotics better than a lot of other meds. So,
okay,
during World War I and World War II, we really developed the use of penicillin.
mm-hmm.
And when penicillin was first made, it ended up being this miracle drug where you could give it to someone that had an infection, and like 9 times out of 10, it would sort them out.
Yep.
And then that 10%, normally it was something that couldn't be treated with antibiotics. That was the issue. So,
sorry about that. I was loading up the truck.
Not a problem. So you had penicillin. It was on the market. It started being prescribed. People started taking it wrong. The problem was when people started taking it wrong, it meant that diseases that should have been killed by penicillin were allowed to grow resistant to penicillin. So you had penicillin misuse led to the rise of what was known as PRSA, penicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus. Then you had the after penicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus, you had the medical companies, the farm companies, start trying to develop a med in order to deal with PRSA. So what you had was you had another med come out. So after PRSA, we had methicillin came out in order to resist penicillin-resistant Staph aureus. So methicillin was able to treat PRSA. But then the problem was that people started taking methicillin wrong after methicillin got overprescribed. So then we had MRSA pop up. Then we developed another med, which was after methicillin. It was, I want to say it was began with a T. I can't remember the med's name proper, but it was it tetracycline? It might have been tetracycline. So let's say it was tetracycline. It might not have been, but
real quick, Cannibalistic Wizard said, wasn't penicillin smuggled into the U.S. by coating a jacket with it so that the Germans couldn't get it, or was that something else? To quote, the mold in Dr. Florey's coat was revealed to be the worst case strategy. It was, in fact, smuggled out of Nazi Germany, and they would hide penicillin notatum spores in the fabric of their clothes. And yeah, it was what was brought to the United States in 1945, was winning the Nobel Prize for Physiology and Medicine with Florey and Chain. So yes, it was cannibalistic. Sorry.
not a problem.
No, it's. I don't know. For me, I think it's more like these companies probably can, cure a lot of the world's ills, right? But
so the thing, there's several things that I would find interesting if we got the time to research them, because one of them was something that I was effectively researching for a period of time when I was in college. I evolved antibiotic-resistant strains of bacteria in my senior year of college. So one thing that we might be able to develop is a rotation of medicines, because we had, like I said, penicillin gave rise to PERSA. Methicillin gave rise to MRSA. Then whatever the T1 gave rise to TERSA. Then it was... Oh, sorry, no. The T1 was the fourth in the chain. It was vancomycin came in after methicillin. So vancomycin came in, gave rise to MRSA. Then the T1 gave rise to TERSA. Now we're on another one that's giving rise to another. What might be the case is if we pulled a med after its antibiotic-resistant strain popped up and we continued down the chain, we might be able to then loop that med back in after and have it be effective again, because antibiotic resistance is costly for the bacteria. It's just less costly than the death is. So you have the potential of being able to rotate. One of the other things that I said when I was doing my research was the type of research that I was doing could potentially allow for you to develop the next med that's needed before it's needed, which would have been kind of cool. But it was this annoying just mix where people kept on fucking it up because they kept on taking their meds wrong. We haven't done the research properly. And there's a bunch of reasons why medical care is as fucked as it is. Part of it is lawyers. Part of it is patients are fucking retarded.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of problems with the medical industry, and it's not easily solved by just throwing more money at it, or trying to litigate it, or trying to regulate it in some sort of way like that. Like it's a not an easy problem to just say, oh yeah, this is the simple fix. People need to realize that. But the major thing is that we need to start taking some practical steps in the right direction is the problem. And no one's wanting to do that because it's all just business as usual. We can identify the problem, but we can't identify a solution to the problem.
Well, there's a number of potential solutions. We just need to figure out which one's the right one. And the problem is that the issue is no one's actually looking at the potential solutions. They keep on trying the same broken ones because for some reason there's a generalized idea of more money equals more better.
What?
This is
You're telling me it's not? You're telling me it's not?
No, it isn't the case
More-
with Medco.
more
It
better?
isn't the case with the education. In neither case is it the way that it works out. What you
But
need,
more money means more better.
no, it doesn't. More money spent well, yes. It's just irksome because it.
Spud Gun said normally there's a solution 99% of the time. It involves a bloody coup. Well, that in and of itself is another problem.
A bloody coup is not a valid solution.
Yeah. I could fix all the problems if I became the dictator, but you'd become a dictator.
Yep.
Frosted Glass, are you saying we can't spend it? Can't depend on the government to spend money well? I mean, if you can't have faith in the government, who can you have faith in? I'll tell you who I can have faith in. Two people by the
Raid
name
Shadow
of
Legends. Oh, sorry.
Smith and Wesson. That's who I can have faith in. Raid Shadow Legends.
Figured that was a good time to
Go to my special link, lootcrate.com/ or use my coupon code SHUT UP!
We got fireworks going on outside.
Cannibalistic Wizard. C4 fixes everything. Need something moved? C4. Got an annoying neighbor? C4. Too much trash? That's right. Enough C4 can make even famine can be solved. All I gotta say is the name Silly Putty implies the existence of Serious Putty.
Nice.
And that exists. It's called C4.
Very nice. Yeah. It's
The concept of pre-nut confusion and post-nut clarity implies the existence of mid-nut learning.
nice.
Trying to think of more apropos jokes, but none are coming to mind.
Yeah. It's, things like this just annoy me because we keep on trying the same thing that doesn't work.
That's because we're a country of insane people.
Yeah.
That's why the world is afraid of us.
And then after we try things that don't work, and we keep trying things that don't work, we decide to then take that things that don't work from other countries and we go, hey, we have things that do work in other countries, or we have things that work in our country. Let's get rid of those for things that don't work in other countries. And we have things that don't work in other countries. Let's get rid of those and do things that don't work in our country. No, let's just stop replacing things that actually fucking work with things that don't. And stop insisting that, well, the only reason why they don't work is because we didn't do them hard enough.
I think the major thing when it comes down to like ideas and their efficacy is you have to look at the idea, the framework of who benefits from the idea. If the idea itself is bad, and you can tell that the person that's putting forth the idea is the person that benefits from this bad idea, then chances are you know why they're proposing this bad idea. Just saying, maybe people need to start critically thinking about that. Just saying.
Yeah, the thing is that we have so many people that try to say, well, this idea came from a bad person, therefore it must be bad. No, no, no. Sometimes good ideas come from bad people.
Yes. It does not absolve them or forgive them for being a bad person.
Yep, it doesn't make them a good person. It just means that bad person had good idea. Use good idea.
I'll say, hell, we did that already with military technology.
Yep.
Nazi Germans developed the first jet engine. Did you know that? And we use jet engines on aircraft all the time today.
And we're able to accept certain things like that. We're able to accept that just because the man with the small mustache had really bad ideas when it came to politics,
society and governance.
Yep.
And even how to fight a war, too. I mean, Homeboy sent back the Messerschmitt because he wanted a bomber. He could have had air superiority, and yet he just wanted a bomber, so he sent back the jet that could have flown circles around the fucking Spitfire. He was not a tactical genius, let's put it that way.
Yeah, there's good ideas from bad people. There's bad ideas from good people. Just figure out what the good ideas are and use the good ideas. And if the like I said, it just infuriates me every time. Because it just keeps on happening where people will look at a really bad idea and they'll go, okay, what we need to do is we need to try this bad idea harder. This happens with communism. This happens with socialism. This happens with fucking everything time and again. Stop it. Just let an idea that has proven itself to be wrong and stop trying to make it a thing. If you have... It's the thing that I found so beautiful about science, but it's been getting bastardized in science, unfortunately. There's my favorite story when it comes to statistics, where there was a statistician, really well known, by the name of Fisher. And Fisher came up with a statistical analysis, and everyone started using the statistical analysis because It came from Fisher, and Fisher was a statistical genius. Then there was some schmuck who worked QA at a Guinness factory, or a Guinness distillery, at the Guinness distillery. Or brewery, sorry. The Guinness brewery. And he realized that there was a problem with the Fisher test. It was the Fisher F test. And he wrote a paper, realized that if he wrote the paper under his own name, he would get in trouble with his work because he had just been fucking around on company time. And he didn't want to be found out to have been fucking around on company time, dicking around with stats. So he published a paper under the name of Student. There was no name attached to it other than Student. And he called it the Student T-Test. And people started looking at it, and a bunch of people originally went, this is ridiculous. Who the fuck is this student? Why does he think that he knows better than Fisher? But the bulk of the scientific community, when he says there's a problem with the F test, so they checked. Turned out there was a problem with the F test, and it was the problem that he noticed in the F test. Then they went, okay, does his test fix it? It does fix it. They started using the student t-test despite not knowing who the fuck made the student t-test. Because it was the most correct statistical analysis to use. That was the beautiful thing about science. It didn't matter what of the science was. What mattered was, is it correct? Does it make a consistent and usable predictive model?
That's the problem, is that you're also ascribing a morality to it as well. Unbeknownst, but yeah, you are. The reason why is because, and I'll tell you exactly why that sort of thing is not a thing anymore. People want recognition.
Yep.
People.
They do.
Yeah, so people are going to sit there and say, well, I'm not going to do all this work for free. And I can't blame them.
I can't blame them for not wanting to do the work for free, because I'm not really saying that it was a good thing that Fisher did that. I'm just saying that that's what Fisher, or that Student did that. I'm just saying that that's what Student did.
Yeah.
But the thing is that the annoying part is that we were able to do that when it came to the Student t-test. I'm not asking for everyone to publish their papers under Student. What I'm asking is that people just look at what's being published and they go, okay.
Critically think and analyze, yeah.
Yes. Is what's being published correct? If it is, fantastic. We will work with it. If it isn't, well, then it's wrong. And we just leave it alone, because it doesn't fucking matter that it was done by so-and-so who was the foremost in their field. You can be the foremost in your field and still be fucking wrong. And that's the thing that pisses me off about it. Because now we have people that will try to go just based off of their name. And, well, it's their name, so it's so-and-so wrote this paper, so it must be right. No, so-and-so has the ability to be wrong, just like everyone else. Now, they might be wrong less often, but they can still be wrong.
And you can be wrong and have good intentions.
Yeah, you can be wrong and have perfectly fine intentions. You can be right and have all the wrong intentions.
Mm-hmm.
You can be right and have the right intentions. You can be wrong and have the wrong intentions. Any mix of those is possible. But what matters is it right? Is it wrong? If it's right, use it. If it's wrong, abandon it.
And we're also talking about observable reality, not subjective morality that you can debate over. Right and wrong is all entirely based around the idea of if it is observable reality.
I'm talking about whether it produces a reliable predictive model.
Yes, reliable predictive results. Yes.
Well, the reliable predictive model means that if you replicate it, then you're comfortable knowing that you're going to get the same results.
Well, that you can predict the results because you can add more mass to something and it'll have a higher acceleration and so on and so forth. But it's still an observable, reality.
Yeah, it gives you the ability to make predictions based on it, is what a predictive model is.
And correct predictions.
Yes. Which is one of the things that drives me crazy because this happens in politics as well, not just in science where people completely fucking forget. And people don't realize when, oh shit, all these predictions were wrong, all those predictions were right, but I like the first guy more, so I'm going to continue voting for him. No, stop it. Get some help.
Yeah.
Because you don't have to like Trump to realize that when Trump was saying, yeah, if Biden gets elected, we're going to be closer to world war than at any point during my presidency. We'll also have increased gas prices. Inflation will go fucking crazy. Our economy will be put through the works or put through the ringer, and we'll have all these issues. And then be able to go, okay, I might not agree with Trump on everything, but Trump had this dead to fucking rights. You don't have to like him. You don't have to agree with him on everything. You have to ask.
You don't even have to vote for him.
Yeah, you don't even have to vote for him. But you have to ask, why was he so right? And why were people so wrong in what they predicted was going to happen during his time?
Mm-hmm.
Because the people that were saying, oh, Trump is going to cause World War III, he was the only president in modern history that didn't declare a new war. Trump is going to...
Did Clinton declare war? I know he got into trouble with the whole thing with Kosovo, but...
Yeah.
I don't remember...
He was in the first Gulf.
I thought that was Bush Sr. that declared Persian Gulf.
I'm going to quickly double check because I... check on this actually because this is going to be a little bit faster. Gulf War. And
I mean, speaking of competent presidents, I mean, have you seen some of the stuff that Biden's been doing?
Falling up steps?
Well, not even that.
Shaking the invisible man's hand?
Not even that. Hanging out with Modi and then saying, yeah, oh yeah, I like to leak documents. And then, he was saying it as a joke. Or the other one where he, I think he was on CNN and he was talking, and all of a sudden he just like inches closes and gets up and starts walking away.
Okay, so Clinton got into Bosnia. It wasn't.
Yeah, I was gonna say Bosnia and Kosovo. Yeah, the Persian Gulf was 1990 to 1991, and George Bush was president from 89 to 93.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just at the kind of middle of that bit. So, yeah, that was my mistake. So, it was Bosnia that Clinton got into. I think.
Yeah, but I mean that wasn't a full war either. Well, it was for the Bosnians and people in Kosovo, but
if you're only counting full wars, then we've only declared war like 4 times in U.S. history, and 2 of those were the World War.
Did we even declare war in Korea? I don't think it was declared.
we declared war in. So it was World War One, World War Two, 1812 were 3 of them. Let me quickly double check. It might be 5 wars that we declared, not counting the War on Terror.
Well, that comes with its own can of worms.
Yeah, it's actually counted as a war that was declared.
Okay.
So because we of course had the American Revolution, but that one doesn't really count.
Well, okay, hold on. We do have that because that is the first one. This is on Senate.gov about declarations of war by Congress. It was against Great Britain in June 17th, 1812. But that was 1812, not the Revolutionary War.
Yeah, like I said, the War of 1812 was one of the wars that I was counting.
Then we had war against Mexico in 1846.
Yep.
Against Spain in 1898.
Spanish American.
Mm-hmm. Germany, 1917.
Yep.
And Austria-Hungary in 1917. We had to have 2 different ones. Yeah, it's the same war, but we had to declare it twice. And we had to declare it 3 times for...
Declaration of war for World War One, declaration of war for World War Two.
Yeah, well, we had to do it 3 different times for World War II, too, because there's 1941 Japan, 1941 Germany, and 1941 Italy. And then we have...
That counts as those 3 are the declaration of war for World War II, since we didn't have a World War II war declaration. But we had
we also have another
for.
We also have another one too, because we also declared war against Bulgaria in 1942, Hungary in 1942, and Romania in 1942 as well.
Was that also? Oh yeah, that was grouped into.
It's all
World War.
It's all World War II. Yeah, it's all World War II. Yeah. So we've only declared war in the only conflicts we have declared war in, and that's the thing too, is that this is from Senate.gov. They didn't list Persian Gulf. They didn't list the Iraq invasion. They didn't list Afghanistan. All of those were things that were not declared by Congress, or at least by Senate.
Technically, they should have the declared war.
They should have.
Well, no, I'm saying technically they should have the declared war on terror, because that was a declaration of war by the Senate.
Yeah, but yeah, so we've got 1812, the Spanish American War, the was it the Mexican? Oh God, what was that? And there was a war for that one. I just can't remember the name of it. And then World War I, World War II.
Yep.
It's the only times we've declared war.
But yeah. So
we didn't even declare war in the Civil War.
If we're going for declaration, well, it's declarations to foreign powers. We didn't consider it foreign war when it was the Civil War. It was a
domestic dispute.
Yeah, it was an internal war. But yeah, if we're going by proper declarations of war, then we have to go back a fair bit to get to the last president that declared a formal war. But when we're talking about the more colloquial sense of war that we've been using, Trump was the only president that didn't enter a new theater in modern history. I'm trying to remember how far back that goes. And I want to say...
If we were going hold on, let me try to do my best Norm Macdonald impression. If we were going to declare a war on terror, the first place we should start is this nation's haunted houses.
God damn it.
Courtesy of Boston Glass.
let's see, what was the last president to not? Because it was, I know Trump didn't start any, and then the one that was before that was Ford.
Well, every
Ford
president from the 90s has inherited a problem from the previous one, at least a military problem.
Yep,
from
but
the
I'm
previous
saying
one.
that when it comes to starting a new theater,
Mhm.
the last president who didn't, if I remember correctly, is Ford. Or if I'm correct, is Ford. Let me double check that I have the order of those presidents correct. But yeah, if that is correct, the last president to not start a new theater of conflict is Ford. So we're going back to the 70s.
Even then, Ford was in the military. He was a seaman.
Yep. Only he was, to my mind, far more honorable than fucking Carter. Carter pisses me off. Carter's the one president that pisses me off almost as much as FDR. And it's one that confuses people when they hear that Carter pisses me off as much, because most people go, oh, Jimmy Carter, he's a fantastic ex-president. The reason why Carter pisses me off as much as he does is, do you know what Carter's job was before he was president? What he did in the military? Let me be more specific. Do you know what he did in the military?
No.
He was a nuclear engineer.
Mm.
So you can hardly think of someone who's in a better position to explain when there's a nuclear problem as someone who was a serving nuclear engineer, right? They should be. Go ahead.
You are forgetting one thing for Gerald Ford.
He was a coward.
No, he did inherit one war. Remember who he took over for?
Oh yeah, but I'm saying start a new theater because.
Well, I'm just saying because we were already in the middle of Vietnam. Also, there was the Turkish invasion that happened.
That was Carter. Carter was the one that got our diplomats captured. And then Ford was the one who said, if I get elected, they better give our fucking diplomats back. He got elected and they gave our diplomats back. But Carter served as a nuclear engineer. Fantastic. So if there was a problem with any nuclear power station, he should be the one to come out and explain what's going on, or to have someone who knows what's going on explain what's going on and then back them up, right? Makes sense. It's what he did for a living. So we have 3 Mile Island happen. You guys are all familiar with 3 Mile Island, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's say explosion, right?
Not an explosion. 3 Mile Island had a reactor leak that equated to 3 transatlantic flights. That was all that happened. It was a issue with the reactor. The safeguard systems kicked in. They prevented anything serious from happening. People then realized that there had been an issue where the safeguards had to kick in. So they started turning things off in order to figure out what the issue was. And yeah, the grand total was it released 3 transatlantic flights worth of radiation. But people started treating it like it was fucking Chernobyl. So Carter got the briefing of this on his desk. And there's records of him looking through the briefing of this that landed on his desk. And when he looked through the briefing, he went, oh, so this was nothing. And personally dismissed it because he read through it. He knew what it was like to work on a nuclear reactor. And he realized that the issue that was at 3 Mile Island had been solved before anyone realized there was an issue. So, no issue. Do you know what he did when it came to the public, though?
Didn't tell them anything?
He didn't tell them that it was fine. He fed into their fear. Jimmy Carter, despite knowing better, despite having every reason, if he was serving properly, if he was a noble person, to have come forward and gone, look, you guys know me, you guys know that I won't bullshit you. This is what happened. It's not an issue. He had the chance of doing that. He refused to do that. And now, ever since then, we always hear, when it comes to nuclear reactors, people always bring up the same 3 fucking examples. Oh, what about Chernobyl? That's a problem with communism, not a problem with nuclear reactors. Well, what about 3 Mile Island? That was fucking nothing at goddamn all. It's just we had a coward for a president that allowed people to be scared because he thought it was politically expedient. Well, what about Fukushima? It got hit by a fucking tsunami, you cunt.
Yeah. I was gonna say I was about to bring up Fukushima. I was gonna be like, what about Fukushima? You mean the exact literal case of a perfect storm?
Yeah. Got hit by an earthquake, got hit by a tsunami, and do you know what the best part about everyone pointing to Fukushima as, oh, look how scary it is, look at Fukushima. Even though
the Japanese did everything in their power to stem the tide, too, and it could have been way worse.
And also, the biggest amazing thing about Fukushima was it got hit by an earthquake, it got hit by a tsunami, and then it had 1 reactor was somewhat severely damaged, 2 more reactors had light damage.
Mm-hmm.
It got hit by a fucking earthquake and a tsunami.
The thing that
had oh yeah, that reactor's kind of fucked up. Those 2 aren't looking brilliant. And that was the result of it. It wasn't, oh God, this thing went nuclear. It wasn't, oh God, everything.
All the contamination, yeah.
We have
like there was concerns about the flooding and the contamination and stuff like that when it happened, but then you know it didn't turn out to be that big a deal.
And
the thing that I find
of the traditional power plants, non-nuclear power plants that got hit by shit like that, and the result was so much fucking worse.
Oh, yeah.
We've had steam explosions from that shit. Again,
the thing
one
I find
reactor
most
severely damaged, 2 reactors a bit damaged, and it was back up and running.
Yeah, the thing I found the most fascinating about the Fukushima disaster is that it unequivocally showed Japan's relationship to the United States.
Yep.
Now post-war and all that kind of stuff. Because, I mean, you know, you get different sort of perspectives when you look at things like media and then like candid online interactions, if you know Japanese and, you know, see this kind of thing. One of my favorite things is that there was this growing sentiment that people thought that the Japanese just hated Americans. There was a whole lot of like, you know, stuff going out about like how, you know, they have Japanese only establishments and, you know, they'll look at you sideways if you walk into their stuff if you're not Japanese and all that kinds of stuff. And one of the biggest proponents of that online was 2channel.
Oh, okay.
Is the message board. Well, yeah, but no, like 2chan was a lot of anti-America memes on 2chan all the time. But immediately after the Fukushima disaster, and then the U.S. Coast Guard and military getting involved and helping in the relief effort, and like
immediately
evacuating,
jumping in.
all that kind of stuff, they posted a pinned thread on 2chan saying, "We're just kidding around. We actually really love you, Americans."
Yeah. And that's something that you just remind me of something else.
Mm-hmm.
You've seen the Jackass, right?
The
The one that's trying to destroy American and Japanese relations single-handedly.
No. What?
You haven't heard about the live streamer who's a Somali American?
Oh wait, I think I have. Yeah, where he's like he's doing the IRL stream shit and like
Yep.
yeah, like going to Japanese public places and playing music really loud and then getting in people's faces when they say, "Hey, dude, what the fuck you doing?" Yeah, I've heard about that.
Around
Schoolgirls.
Various
Yeah,
young
I've heard about that
Japanese
faggot.
girls
Yeah,
blaring adult audios.
yeah, I've heard about this guy.
Yep.
Take his passport away. Deport him.
Yeah.
I'm fully in favor of that. Fuck that guy.
Yeah, and he's one of the instances that I'm perfectly fine with the hyphenated American because, yeah, he isn't properly American. He doesn't identify as American either. He constantly refers to himself as Somali rather than Somali American or American. He's not an American. He's a Somali.
Mm-hmm. It'd be like if I ran around saying that I'm Irish American.
Well, no, it wouldn't, because it would be like if you were a second-gen American whose family came from Ireland, who 100% referred to yourself as Irish.
Yeah. Even though you're born in America, even though you are, your parents were American, you were born in America.
Yep. Not even referring to yourself as Irish American, just referring to yourself as Irish.
Yeah.
And he's just a fucking cunt.
Yeah, no, fuck that guy.
Chuckle every time that I hear another story about, the Yakuza keeps on giving him warnings.
Good.
If anything, this has just proven that even the Japanese underground crime are ridiculously nice.
Yeah. I mean, they'll give you a warning before they come after your ass.
And
I'll just say it, man. The Japanese, I'm perfectly fine with them learning to be a little bit less reserved, so long as it's against people who deserve it.
Yeah.
I mean, China back in the 40s probably didn't deserve it. China nowadays, yeah, sure, go ahead.
Yep.
Well, okay, no, not China. China's government.
The Chi-Coms.
Yes.
But yeah, it's infuriating that they keep on doing this shit. Where it's just like, God damn it, people stop.
Quit making Americans look bad, you faggot.
Yeah. Especially since I've been to Japan. I had an amazing fucking time in Japan.
I've
one had any issue with me. People loved me in Japan.
I really want to go to Japan. I want to go to Hokkaido and Osaka. I do definitely want to go and tour around Akihabara in Tokyo because I'm a retro video game collector, and of course I want to go to Akihabara.
Yeah, going to Japan was amazing, and I want to go back because now I have people that I can visit when I go back. It's going to be fantastic. But when I went to Japan, I swear, between Japan and when I went to China before the current reign, before the current regime.
Sure.
Back when China was still opening up and looking like it was going to become a valuable member of society.
Mm-hmm.
And between Japan and China, I swear I'm in the greatest number of family photos, yearbooks, and group pictures of any person.
All I
in
gotta
Asia.
say is go to India and you've got the trifecta. You can become a celebrity in India just by being yourself.
Go to India, I have more people taking pictures. I need to just tour Asia until goddamn anytime someone goes there, if they're being shown a group picture, I'm just standing there for some fucking reason. You grab a random yearbook from China and why is Sanguine standing in the back of this? Okay, let me look at this Japanese. Why is Sanguine in this one? The Korean fucking Sanguine.
I'm not so sure about Korea. But yeah, I say Japan and China and definitely India. I've heard if you're just a random ass white dude going to any of those places, chances are people want to take photos with you.
Mm-hmm. But
India, you'll be like a fucking celebrity. It's weird.
Japan, it was the same way.
Yeah.
People kept on asking for pictures with me. People would try to sneak taking pictures of me and with me. It was hilarious. Every time that I noticed someone was taking a picture, I'd pose. Also, just the randomness. Every time I travel anywhere, something random will happen. One of the random things that happened when I went to Japan was I was walking through the middle of a Tokyo market when suddenly the crowd in the market just kind of split slightly, exposing a very large Haitian man who immediately made eye contact with me and over the crowd shouted, "Moses from the Bible." As I walked past him, he dapped me up, and I continued walking. And the group that I was with all just looked over at me and went, "What the fuck was that?" And I said, "Didn't you hear? I'm Moses from the Bible."
From the Bible.
It was glorious.
Part in the crowd so the man may pass.
It was just this random shit because would you ever expect to get dapped up by a Haitian in the middle of a Tokyo market?
I mean, I'm just gonna come right out and say it. I'm expecting some weird, wild shit if I ever go to Japan. I'm expecting it.
Yeah, but you're probably expecting it involving Japanese people.
Yeah, well, maybe.
Not a Haitian. But yeah, it was just hilarious. The entire time that I was in Japan, it was fun. So I really want to go back, especially since this time I'll have someone to.
One of the things I'd really
Tour
kind of
around.
like to do too is I'd like to go to like I said, Hokkaido. Going up north. I think it'd be really cool. Really cool to go to an onsen.
Yep. Yeah, I want to go back to Japan. The area that I'd start out in would be Kyoto, and then I'd let her decide the rest of the trip.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it is almost 1 o'clock. Shall we go around for parting words?
Holy shit, it's almost 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
Yep. 12:55, my guy.
Damn.
We had a flowing conversation that didn't end.
And my phone is getting
And
fucking
it goes on and on, my
friend.
Some
It's
people started singing it, not knowing what it was, and they'll just sing
Look what you've done, Adam. Look what you've done. Look what you've done, Adam. This is entirely your fault, Adam.
Singing it, not knowing what it was.
They'll continue singing it forever just because it was a song that does it. I'm sorry. Let's end it. We gotta end this. Get the fuck.
Both of you did it. I had to jump in and run with it.
Of course you did. That's why I blamed Adam.
So, parting words? Adam,
Who
you
goes
want to go first?
No, okay, I go first. uh, well, a very engaging conversation we had this evening, I would say.
That kind of meandered and wandered all over the place. It was fantastic.
Yeah, it was crazy. We covered a good number of topics.
Yeah.
And but yeah, as always, dude, I thank you for letting me hang out with you, and it was a pleasure chatting with you, Cryptic. It's been a bit, and of course, Quiz, always a pleasure. But yeah, all of you in chat, and everybody watching, God bless. I love you all.
Mm-hmm. And I just noticed Cannibalistic saying, in India, the whiter you are, the better you get treated. God damn, I'm just going to be made a fucking...
A king with your pasty ass, yeah.
I'm so white, I have to worry about moonburns.
Yeah.
So, Cryptic, you still around? You've been muted for a while. Give you a moment to unmute if you're still there, or if you zonked out, I'll move on to Inquisitor. It seems like you might have zonked out. So, Inquisitor, parting words.
What do you read, my lord? By Lord Polonius.
Nice.
For those that don't get it, the line that immediately comes afterward by Hamlet is words, words, words.
Mm-hmm. And I'll leave off with my standard of, if you're passionate about something, make sure that you devour it. Don't let it devour you. And with that, have a good night, all. The zoo is closed.
Night.
This is when you say goodbye, Adam.
Goodbye.
Okay.
Say, Adam did say bye.
Yeah. I'm so used to saying Adam there. I started with Adam, and then I realized, no, it was Inquisitor that I needed to chastise. God damn it. Sorry, Adam. Goodbye, everyone.